Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV here. I'm going to be taking another look at the Rocknest image here, like I did in my previous video. You may want to watch that. I'm kind of doing a part 2 of my previous video, which is down here. This one here, Mars huge crashed UFO and Rocknest buildings. I'm going to take a closer. I found some other stuff near what I covered in that video, and I thought it was worth another video just to show the update. Here's the link. This will be in the description as usual. Rocknest image. Now the bit we're concerned with here is right up here in the background on this. I think what is actually Mount Sharp. I think it is one end of it. There's a hell of a lot to see in this image, as I said before, but we're just going to concentrate on this background here at the top and over to the right. Okay, so let's get on with it. Okay, now I've got a lot of image clips here. Now, first of all, I'm going to give you a quick overview of some of the stuff. This is the top part of the image which I've clipped, and I've just highlighted parts that we're going to cover today, just to try and give you an idea of where to look. If you want to duplicate any of the stuff I found, it should be fairly easy. Most of it's over here on the right. I've got a couple of new things. This long section here is a bit I covered in the previous video, with what look like footprints all the way down here. They go in a long line all the way down to the what looks like a river at the bottom here, or a lake. You can see them quite clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they sort of carry on all the way across. They get a bit more vague further away there, but they're pretty clear on this side. But one thing I did miss, I didn't mention in the first video, is this object here. Now I see this bird. It looks like a dead bird. Wing there, tail here, body here, and wing there. Now that is actually in negative, because I put that in so it would stand out against the background here, because I've already darkened this up here, this background, and try to pull out some detail for you. But this is actually a white object right on the edge of this river at the bottom, or river bed at the bottom, I should say. There he is. What I'll do with this guy is I'll take a clip of that in a minute, and I'll show you it again. But this is it inverted, so you're seeing it around the wrong way. This is a white object. This dark bit here, this dark thing here, is actually a white object in the raw image, and I've reversed it. We'll come out to that in a bit. I've already covered this building here in the previous video. We won't go on about that again. You'll have to look at the previous video to see that. Now, I've also noticed in this Rocknest image, if you look at all the way along really carefully and start mucking around with the contrast, as I always do with these images, you'll notice that there seems to be what looks like steam or something coming up from the ground. Now, I don't know if you can. This is going to come across. You're going to need to be watching this in full HD really to get any sense of what I'm on about here. But if you look carefully at this image, I don't know if you can see it, but in the central part of this selection here, not the whole selection, but the central, so there's a sort of column of steam. What looks like a shimmery sort of effect here. Now, this may be due to the fact that it's very hot on this day in Gale Crater. Mars is quite hot in the summer. It gets up to about 70 degrees. It's not really hot, but this may be evidence of geothermal activity in this area. This is it's a long way down. It's a good couple of miles down this crater, and it's highly likely that there is some geothermal activity going on in this low gully here, which is probably one of the lowest parts of Mars. So we're a good 2.5 miles down here, so that is quite possible. But I don't know if you can actually see that. I've tried to enhance it a bit, but this may be just heat haze. But I'm wondering whether this is actually steam coming up here. And there are other areas if you download the image yourself and have a really good look along this horizon, this back of the crater here, there are lots of blurry areas, which I know maybe that's where the images were stitched together, because this is a huge panoramic made up of dozens and dozens of images all kind of put together. So it may be the way they've joined them that has given us this distortion. Don't really know. It is difficult to see, so I'm not going to spend too long on that. It's just a suggestion, really. But there does seem to be a blurred area up the centre of this. There's the missing pixel. It goes right up here, and it actually goes all the way up, right to the top of the image. And there are sort of various areas where this what maybe steam is coming up. I don't know if it's steam. It may well be down to the way they've stitched the images together and had slightly differing, overlapping information. I don't know. There is another one here. If you look carefully, I mean, it's really hard to get this across, but there is another column here, and there's more all the way along. They come up in sort of various areas. Don't know. There is lots and lots of stuff going on this mountain in the background. This is the area covered yesterday, or the other day, in my previous video. Now this is what looks like a UFO or ship or something, lying on the side of the hill here, and a strange object here. I'll quickly show you that again in case you haven't seen the other video. I'll quickly show you that again because there's some really interesting stuff near it as well as that what I've called a UFO ship sort of object. I've got the enhanced ones here. There we go. There we go. There we go. There's the UFO type ship thing. That's not the best image of it actually, but this has been grayscaled. You can see the cabin and stuff, and the shape here. And there's this strange thing here. This may all be one large saucer-shaped or ship-shaped structure going right underneath this area. This could have slipped or just been left on the side of the crater, which was probably full of water at one point. It could have been washed here in a tsunami or a landslide. It could have been much further up, much like the aircraft I found recently. The aircraft I found recently, I'll show you it just very quickly on my channel. This one here, Mars Hughes crashed aircraft. I recommend part 2 if you're going to watch any of those, because that it's got more in it and more detail. But this is a huge aircraft, and I found a few and published some very interesting large aircraft on the surface of Mars. This is probably the best one. You can even see the window, the broken window in the cockpit here, a bit like this one that we're looking at today. If you get in really close, you can see the cockpit here. This isn't actually the best enhancement I've got of it. Where's it gone? I've got so much here. I'll find you in a sec. There we go. It's in. Let's have a look at it from the folder that they're in. Let's look at the highlighted one. That's the best one. There we go. Now this has been processed a bit more, drawn around it and highlighted it, and changed the contrast. And you can really see that, like, windows here. There's a nice window here, a nice 45-degree angle. I did cover this in the last video, so I won't go on too much about this because you've probably already seen this. But I thought I would put it in anyway in case you never watch the first part of this video, or the previous video. So yeah, this is what looks like a flying saucer on the edge of the hill here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back. Now, near that possible flying saucer is this object, which I should probably put on the cover of this video. It's a boat, or something very similar to a boat. Now, I've drawn around it. I've changed the colour temperature so to make it stand out against the background. I've warmed it up in there just to give it some contrast, and I've enhanced the brightness and contrast, and I've softened it a bit and sharpened it a bit. Usual thing that I do in all my videos. There's plenty of info on that in my other videos, how to do it and stuff. It's not difficult. Anybody can do it. this has got an interesting structure here. There's a sort of shadow here. I mean, this could have been here for as long as the potential spaceship thing here. I mean, or it may be like even a part of it. I mean, this may well be a boat, not a UFO or a crashed flying saucer. This may be a ship, and this may be one of its lifeboats. Who knows? It's a funny looking boat because the front end of it seems to be pointing down rather than you'd expect a boat to sort of point up at the front a bit there. But not necessarily. No, not all boats do that. This may not be a boat, of course. It may be part of this aircraft. I don't really know. I'm just guessing here, really. This is quite large. I'll show you it in context with the other thing. Here's the raw clip image of that area. There we go. There's the JPEG artifact there. That's where the saucer-shaped object is, or ship. And our boat is just there. It's a bit vague. If I zoom in, you can just about see it. It's quite large. This is a bit closer. This is a bit further away, this thing here. But it's pretty big. I'm wondering, it may not even be related to it at all. Just because it's nearby doesn't mean it's actually part of the same object or part of the same structure. As I've said in many of my other videos, there's so much junk lying around up on Gale Crater, on the edge of these craters and in the gullies and stuff. There's so much stuff lying around. A lot of it may be related, and a lot of it may not be. It could have been deposited there thousands of years later or earlier. Absolutely no idea. And until you actually send a team there to do a proper investigation, you'd have to send a team with some advanced, photography equipment and some surveying equipment, and do a real proper survey of this area, because it's absolutely teeming with anomalies, especially on these hillsides. I mean, I've in my other videos I've done loads and loads of videos showing the skulls and fossils and that sort of thing in the foreground of the Rocknest and other images. But I'm going for the big stuff now. There's a lot of big things. If you look at the backgrounds of some of these big panoramics, especially, which are very good quality on the whole. There's loads and loads of strange structures. There's buildings. What I did initially earlier on today is I turned it to negative just to look at it in a different way, and that kind of helps if you darken it up and turn it to negative. You start to see things that you wouldn't normally see. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on up here, on top of this mountain here, up here. I still cannot work out what this is. There looks like there may be another boat up here, and there's something very strange going on here. I don't know if you can see that. The colour's gone a bit funny where I darkened it, but there is a very, very strange structure that goes all the way along here, and there's a strange pattern here, and it goes round, and there's some, I don't know what it is. I really don't know how to explain what I'm looking at here. It looks like some very large structure that's fallen over, and is kind of lying on the edge of this hill here, or mountain. It could have at one point been stood up straight, and it's just collapsed. It could be a collapsed building or tower even. It looks like some kind of tower. It's got a strange curve to it. This bit's straight, but it's got a strange curve here. And there's all this weird stuff. I really don't know what this is, and I may have to do another video on this particular part. It's up here. I've highlighted it again. Now I've lightened it here, so you probably may be able to see that better. Here we go. There's some really weird stuff going on there. I have no idea what it is. It is mind-boggling. So I won't spend too much time on that because I don't know what that is. I probably will come back to that another day. Now we've covered the steam or distortion in that part of the image there. There's also what looks like to be some strange artificial structure here, like a dome. This is quite a long way off. I was even further away over there, and it's not huge. So I don't know about that. That's a bit ambiguous. So we won't spend too much time on that. But a lot of this stuff looks artificial, and when you start upping the contrast and playing around with these images, It's always good to blur them a little bit, just a tiny bit. I use Gaussian blur. I'll just show you how much I use for stuff like this. There's the blur. I normally use only about 0.7, and that really does help get rid of this sort of pixelation. If you've got a really grungy image, which some of them are, some of the Curiosity images are terrible, I would probably go up to something like 1 or 1.4, and if they're really bad, I would go up to 2 or 2.6 even. I rarely go above 1.6. That's about as much as I normally need to go. But generally around 0.7 to 1.4, something like that. It's trial and error really. The settings on your software may be different. It may be slightly more or less powerful than this particular software. Okay, let's get rid of that. So yes, the boat. This is the main thing I'm going to concentrate on here. What looks like a boat here. Let's have another look at that. There's the raw clip. This is the enhanced clip. Now what I'm going to do, I think I better save this first because I'm going to use that as a cover image. I think I've already saved it. I'll do that anyway, just to be sure. Okay. Now I'm just going to reverse through the stages I took with this to show you what I did. Okay. I'm just going to go backwards. Okay. There we go. So basically what I did, I'll go back through that. I think that went a bit too quick. Yeah, I just clipped it out and cropped it a little bit and brightened it a bit. But this has already been drawn round, and I've upped the temperature of it, so that's why it's a different colour. That's purely done for the cover image, so that people on YouTube can actually see what I'm trying to get across. And obviously in the video you will see the raw image, and you'll see how it comes, which is this, which is a pretty vague, ghosted out sort of image. It's purely because it's probably quite a hot day in the crater. Now we're told that it's freezing cold on Mars. Yes, it is at night especially, and in the northern polar regions it's extremely cold. It goes down to about minus 190 degrees or thereabouts. But in the summer, in this crater, which has probably got geothermal activity going on, I think it's quite warm, and this might explain some of the distortion effects that we're getting in these images. Now apparently the Mastcam does see slightly into the near infrared, as many cameras do, so that may also explain some of this blurry kind of distortion that we're getting in areas, because it's a hot day. The rock probably heats up, obviously, and gives off heat, and you're getting heat haze. Also, there's probably an awful lot more water up there on Mars than we're told, which would also explain why you get these kind of misty veils over the background. You know, this kind of misty effect here. Now that's quite normal. On a summer's day on Earth, if you were taking a photograph of a mountain in the background, you would get the same effect. I mean, this is a natural kind of effect here. And I know this line looks kind of artificial, but what may be happening here is that there's a lot of moisture in this atmosphere, and it's forming like a veil over this part of the image. Now, if you go out with your digital camera and take an image of a mountain, or go to the beach and take a picture of an island in the background or something, you get exactly the same effect. This is heat haze or mist. You know, this is down to humidity. Now, that dictates to me that there must be an awful lot more moisture in the air than we're told on Mars. It's not completely bone dry. There must be moisture there. People are, I found, all along here, there's what looks like a river or something. There's a river going right the way round Mount Sharp, from what I can work out. And this area was probably all completely flooded at one point anyway. So what we're told about Mars and what is actually going on Mars are two quite different things. I think there's an awful lot more moisture in the air out there than we're told. That would explain this kind of milky effect you get over the backgrounds, and it's even more prominent over here. I mean, look how vague this is. It's really vague, and this hasn't been altered. This has been white balanced by NASA, this image. Look how pale that is. and that's a long way off. That's a good couple of miles away. That very back part there could be as many as 5 miles, 5 or 6, or even more. And to get that much milky sort of haze there, it must be quite moist. There must be a lot of moisture in the air, and that is what's causing this kind of milky veil that you get over the backgrounds. I do think some of the backgrounds have been mucked around with by NASA. They are trying to hide some of these structures, and there's quite a lot of greenery in some areas. There's grass and trees and all sorts of stuff going on in some parts of Mars, and even around Gale Crater there are areas that go very green when you up the contrast. So I actually do think there's a lot more moisture in the air than we're told. And if you look at some of the image sets if you go to the Mastcam raw images and look through some of the sets, generally you get somewhere between 100 and 300 images per set. They do seem to be getting a lot smaller recently, which I find a bit suspicious, and the quality is getting worse as well. But if you look at some of the sets, some of them are much darker than others, even though they're only images taken 20 or 30 seconds apart normally. And you get a load of them which are bright and sunny, a bit like this, and then you get about 10 or 11 which are much darker all over. And all that can possibly be really is clouds going over. So you get one image like this, and then you get another image which looks more this sort of colour. Now it must be clouds of water vapour in the air, which are just floating past like you would get on Earth, and these are causing shadows in the particular area where the rover is. This would explain an awful lot about some of the images. There must be clouds of water or H2O floating about. Now there's not a hell of a lot of them, because most of the images are like this, and you don't see clouds. You don't often see really dark images, but when they do come along, you get them in sets of which probably last something like up to 5 or 10 minutes. So there are clouds going past. They're not particularly big clouds, but they are going over and causing these shadows in a lot of these images. Right, enough about that. There was something else I spotted on this strangely artificial looking mound here. Now I'll show you where it is on the source image here. Where is it? Is it here? Yeah, this is it here. I've already highlighted that part there, but this is the mound. I say mound because it looks a little bit too good to be true. I mean, the shape of it is very almost perfectly ovoid, which is unusual in nature. This may well be a man-made or Martian-made mound. This curve is particularly good. It sort of goes a bit flat there, but I did notice, I mean, this may not be much, but there is a strange structure here, and there are a few strange what look like walls or possible building foundations or ruins left on the side of it. Here's the raw image clip. I'll show you that first. Now you wouldn't think there's anything there. It's quite a long way off, and there's that milky haze in front of it like we get with all the backgrounds on Mars. So what I did, darken it right up, and then I selected that area and turned it negative. And you can see here there's a wall here, and there's a 90-degree sort of corner there, and there's like perhaps part of a building here as well. A little bit vague. This is a long way off, and it's not a huge structure. So, but this looks like a wall, and there's some strange stuff going on here. I really don't know what this is. Someone like Chris over at Mars Anomalies would probably be able to pull this out better. It's a long way off, and you've really got to push this detail out. It's quite difficult. You've got to blur it up a little bit as well. There seems to be a sort of right angled corner here as well, like a box almost. So let's do a real quick. Let's do a real quick darken on that. We've got the raw image here. Let's darken it right down. Let's go right down to something like that, and see if we can pull that box shape out. It's really hard. It's really difficult, this one. We'll have to blur it a little bit. Gaussian blur. Yeah, let's go a bit higher. Let's go up to 1. Smooth it down a little bit. We want some contrast in there. Let's go brightness and up to 6. Okay, and again. You've really got to push this stuff out. I mean, it's really hard to get some of this stuff out. It's hard to say. That's where that little, the sort of building, the walls and building sort of thing is up here. There's sort of a diamond shape here, and that to me looks like a structure. But this is strange. This looks like it could be a building, and even this stuff over here. But it's too far away, and the buildings aren't massive, so it's, you know, maybe a bit of a red herring there. I don't know, but you can kind of see it there. Yeah, there's a building. See the diamond, and there's something here as well. There's some kind of building here. Now I do actually think there are buildings all over this Mount Sharp, as other people have said. There's all sorts of stuff in this background. I've only touched the surface of it. You could probably spend, I mean, there's so much in this particular half of the image here. You could probably spend a week going through all this stuff, and there's so much. Some of these dome-like structures here in the background look artificial. They're so evenly curved. I know there may well be water and wind erosion up here, which has been going on for millennia, but some of this stuff looks artificial. There's all sorts of weird structures going on here. There's a sort of diagonal line up here. It's all over the place. This could be a building. It's hard to say. And the weird thing is, as the rover gets closer to Mount Sharp, the quality never seems to get any better, and maybe they're deliberately obfuscating the backgrounds to try and hide some of these structures, because I really do think this is what they're there for. I think there's something on Mount Sharp. I actually think there's a military base in Gale Crater, which I did cover in the video I showed you before. This one here, in this video, Mars Used Crashed Aircraft Part 2. This aircraft is in a gully, and behind this gully, in the distance here, not only is there a dome just up here, but in the background there it looks like there's a huge long runway. And I got an inkling that's what they're after. I think they're after military technology. I think the rover's just doing a recon mission, and they're probably they may well be sending up a team up there to try and recover some of this tech. Now, when you have stuff like aircraft and military hardware, I mean, this may be a military aircraft, this one, who knows. The Black Saucer Citadel thing here as well, also maybe terraforming Mars. There's all sorts of high-tech stuff going on up there, I think, and or was. Don't know if it still is, do we? I mean, they could all be dead, we don't know. But there does seem to be some kind of covert mission going on, and I think the Curiosity may actually be a complete distraction. I think they may have sent 2 rovers up at the same time, and I think that one of them is searching out all this tech and trying to find, or at least doing a recon on what may be a military base, because there seems to be a lot of aircraft and ships and strange saucer structures and I mean buildings. All I can really put this down to really is that Gale Crater not only had a civilization living around the edge of it, but and above it, but some of it was military. It would make a very good military base. It's got its own kind of microclimate. It's largely protected from probably radiation, or if there was an attack, you know, you've got a natural. It's like a huge natural bunker, and you could dig right into that crater even deeper. You know, I mean, who knows? I think that just about covers it. I think I've covered everything that I was going to cover. Like I said, if you want to see more on the what looks like the UFO structure, go to my previous video. That goes into it a bit more detail. I'm just trying to get these out of the way here. There's so many clips I've got. There he is. Yeah, there we go. So yes, there's the saucer or ship, and there's the boat, which is just to the right of it and down here on the right. I'll just show you that again so you can find it yourself. There we are. That's the UFO structure or saucer, and this is the boat, just there. Who knows, I may be way off the mark here, but that certainly looks like an intelligent structure. Doesn't look like a natural one to me. I could be wrong, but look at it. What do you think? Leave a comment. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hope this wasn't too long. There's a lot to cover in this area. This will go on the front cover, and it will probably be called something like Boats Found on Mars, Rocknest image, or something like that. I don't know yet. You'll find out. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.